Hi, Kirstie Donnelly, CEO of City and Guilds.
Hey Kirstie, we're at Fab 2022 and a really cool bunch of sessions actually. You looked after about half the day today actually. I wanted to see if we could run through some of the sessions from today, just for the audience. I know we've streamed a lot of this, but I think some of the things would be good to sort of roll together. One of your colleagues and works within City and Guilds, Frank.
Trustee, yeah.
Yeah, trustee. He talks about some really interesting stuff around the difference between equity and equality. I didn't know if you wanted to sort of unpack that a bit, because I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, I think Frank tells a very powerful story, really, because I think we can get a little bit hung up on language, understandably, and equity and equality. We've always traditionally used equality, haven't we, in the sector and more generally in society when we talk about wanting people to be equal. But actually, what Frank really talked to was how sometimes you need to swing the equity pendulum. You need to put more in order to give someone that extra support that they need in order to succeed. And that's where then the balance comes together in terms of the opportunities that might be available for somebody who ordinarily without that extra equity maybe couldn't have succeeded. And I think the fact that Frank uses that very personal story about how when he was learning to play the trumpet at quite a professional level at the School of Fame in New York. I mean, how fab is that? But, you know, when he was there with lots of white students who had much more resources available to them, a 30-minute lesson because he had different resources wasn't enough for him, and his teacher spotted that and gave him 90 minutes. Had he been treated equally, he may not have actually gone on to succeed as well as he actually did. So he was given equity and the results were good. And I think that's really the story that Frank was trying to get across.
Yeah, and I think he made a really interesting point around looking at apprenticeships as well, and around I think this is changing around apprenticeships moving from a plan B to a plan A. And I think that's quite interesting around that element of thinking of the parents, particularly for younger people around it. I didn't know if you wanted to sort of elaborate on that at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Frank was saying there, and I wholeheartedly agree with him, is that apprenticeships and indeed other vocational technical routes should not be the second option. They should be the genuine alternative option, or even just the choice, actually, that young people and even adults are making because it's right for them. I mean, that's the point about having choice in education and in work-based skills programs, is we have enough to choose from so that people can make the right choice for them. But there's no doubt when it comes to apprenticeships and younger people, we know from research that we've done in City and Guilds that parents are a very big influencer, as are teachers, and therefore we still have a long way to go. Even though I think you're right, I think it is changing, I think we still have a long way to go to get parents to really understand the genuine value in apprenticeships actually also being part of plan A, not plan B, to use Frank's expression. I'm always reminded of some research I was involved in a few years ago now, where we looked at the number of parents who thought apprenticeships were a good thing. It was something like 90% said, yeah, great. And then when you said, well, would you send your son and daughter? It sort of dropped from 90-something% to like, you know, the low 30s. So there's something still there, I think, we've got to address, Gavin.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think on the stream, it probably didn't come across, but the next person that was on the sessions was Tony Sewell. We were talking about gentrification of apprenticeships, which sort of goes into this next stage of where those that are clued up what apprenticeships are, parent-wise, are the reason of sort of, we think of gentrification, you think of different areas where you've got people being pushed out. I thought that was a really interesting term.
Absolutely. Well, look, you know, you hear and see, you know, some of the really popular apprenticeship programs, like the ones that BAE run and some of that Rolls-Royce, and, you know, you literally see the queues around the corner where people are queuing with their parents to get onto those apprentices. And I suspect, you know, Tony's onto a very, very valid point there. But what we really need to do is, how do we get deeper into those really hard to reach parts of our society where those young people from Black or BAME or other communities, disadvantaged communities, how do we really get them to have the same opportunity to access those programs? Because there isn't equal opportunity to access right now. We can see that in the apprenticeship stats, you know, that shocking 14% of only sort of Black BAME participation in apprenticeships. I mean, that does tell us, I mean, as much as I know we have to be careful with data data can sometimes be very helpful in really pointing a light at what's going on. And I think that's what Tony was really trying to say. That almost in a way, to Frank's point, if apprenticeships are becoming Plan A, great. Are they becoming Plan A, but in a gentrified way, as opposed to a Plan A, which is creating more opportunity for everyone?
Yeah, no, definitely. We're living in weird times.
We are.
And it's interesting that those two situations are highlighted. City and Guilds over the past couple of years have some really, really interesting bits of research around, particularly around looking at the strange situation we're in where we've got a high amount of job vacancies that people are looking for, and also employment rates, skills gaps, looking at gentrification of apprenticeships, looking at different qualification routes. Wrapping that all together, what's your sort of take in a soundbite?
I was going to say, I mean, you said the word weird. I've been using the saying, or had been using the saying, can it get any worse? Can it get any worse? You know, our whole political environment at the moment, etc., and the economic. I've stopped using that now because it has completely always got worse. I think you use the word, can it get more weird? And I think it maybe can. Let's hope not. But look, I think we can't ignore the fact that we have got the lowest unemployment right now. Yet we've got the highest number of job vacancies we've ever seen, depending which data source you read, anything between 1.5 and 2 million. We've got this oxymoron of there are the jobs out there, but the people who don't want them. And in our own research we did in Great Jobs, it came down to three things really at the end of the day, Gavin, which is people need to feel valued and rewarded. And that wasn't just about pay, that was about, you know, flexibility, training. And so that was one of the other big ones, was training, and the other big one was finding was flexibility. So how do we create opportunities and create greater inclusive opportunities for example, bringing women back into the workplace, but providing genuine part-time opportunities. Look, there is no doubt when we talk about productivity, skills has to play into that agenda. Skills equal jobs, equal productivity. And the sooner we all just look at that simple equation and then start to work out how we're going to properly fund it, how we're probably going to knit the ecosystem together in an agile way that can respond to the genuine crisis that we've got right now in filling those labour market shortages, the sooner we'll get to productivity, the sooner we'll raise the bar for people in societies, and the sooner we can actually genuinely say, perhaps we're now going in the right direction.
Kirstie, thank you so much. I wholeheartedly agree. Increase productivity, be more agile, we've got to be more inclusive, we've got to think outside of the box of how we can bring people in. Yeah, really good. And thank you for sharing your time today.
Thanks, Gavin.